let's talk about users, groups, and permissions in Spider Impact. So when you think about permissions, think about the organization tree. It's up here in the left-hand corner, and when you click on it, you can see your entire org structure. Here's Mobile World Incorporated. Underneath that is your marketing organization, your sales operations. That's broken down into different regions. So if I'm looking at Mobile World, I've got my Mobile World scorecard. I've got my Mobile World dashboard. These are specific objects. All of these things are stored in the Mobile World example organization. If I were to switch to sales, I have a completely different set of dashboards, a completely different scorecard. So just keep that in mind as we talk about users and groups and permissions. So all of those things are managed in the admin section. So we're going to click on that by going to the admin section down here. And we're going to click on groups and permissions. And groups are all about which organizations a group can see and what actions they can do when they're viewing an organization. Let me show you what I'm talking about by creating a new organization called Marketing Admins. And we're going to make the group type Power Users. Now, by default, you can choose one of these 4 group types, and it's going to save you a ton of time. But you can get fine-grained if you want. So I choose Power Users, and I can choose Actions. These are the actions by default that a Power Users group can be assigned. It's all kinds of things, modifying scorecards, editing the application settings, all that kind of stuff. Or I could choose Update Users and choose their actions. It's a lot fewer actions that can be assigned to those types of users. All the way down to View Only, go to Actions. There's only 2 things you can assign those types of groups: view all organizations permissions and the ability to change their personal profile. So here I'm doing marketing admins. I'm going to choose all the way at the top at Power Users, but I'm going to turn off the ability to view organizations. So they're going to have these huge administrator powers, but only in their little branch of the tree. So I'm going to click Done, and now I can choose which organizations the marketing admins can see. So we're going to go over here and we're going to choose marketing and add that to the list of organizations they can see. And we're going to save that. Now we'll create one more group type. We're going to call this Standard View All. And they're going to be a view only group, and they're going to have the ability to view all organizations and change their personal profile. All right. Now let's create a user. We're going to call her Jane. And she's going to be a member of the Standard View All and the Marketing Admins. So when Jane logs in, this is what she's going to see. We're going to log in as her because I'm an administrator, and this little message just says, hey, I'm logging in as Jane, but any actions that I do are going to be recorded as me, no problem. So log in, and this is what she sees when she first logs into the software. She's going to go to the scorecard section in sales. And if you notice, she can view all of the data in the software because she's a member of that View Only Standard Users group, but she can't go to the Edit tab. There's no Edit tab for her. There's nothing she can do. And she can go to the Initiatives section, but there's no ability to create an initiative. But when she goes to the Marketing, where is that? There we go, the Marketing organization, she can create a new initiative, and she can edit a scorecard. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to change, we don't want renamed, get rid of that, right? And I'm going to hit save. And when I go over here to the history, look at that. It says Scott O'Reilly here, which is me. I've logged in and changed it from marketing to renamed, and I just changed it back right now. Okay, great. So now I've done all those actions as Jane Johnson. I'm going to log out as her, and I'm back in as Scott. All right, so that's the general idea of permissions. You can assign, by putting a user in multiple groups, you can give them the ability to do different types of things to different areas in the tree. So that's organization permissions. There's a second type of permissions in the software called dataset permissions. And that's because a dataset, by default, we'll go over here to the Mobile World example. By default, we'll go to this headcount dataset. Datasets normally do not have advanced permissions. So that means, just like with a scorecard, just like with initiatives, anybody who can see the organization can see all the records in that data set, and that's default permissions. But if I were to flip on advanced permissions, actually let's go over here to device sales, and that one's already turned on. And what happens when you turn on advanced permissions is all of a sudden no one can view that data set until you give them explicit permission to view that. And that's because with data sets, there's so much data that can be stored in there, millions of records, that you might want to give people specific ability to only view certain amounts of records in a data set. So for example, here we are in device sales. There's 33,000 device sales in our data set. And let's choose sales department, broken down 32,000 in retail and 725 in corporate. Okay, so that gives me an idea. I'm going to go in here and edit device sales, and I'm going to give Jane the ability to only view records where the sales department is corporate. And what can she do when she's viewing the data set? Well, let's give her full modification. No, we're only going to give her the ability to view individual records and view the records tab. So just a subset of the actions for that data set. So we're going to click done. We're going to click save. All right, let's go back in, and we're going to log back in as Jane and go back to that data set. Now she has a permanent permissions filter that says sales department is corporate, and she can only see 725 records. Now she can still use this data set, right? She can still say, all right, well, let's break it down by sales employee, or break it down by, sales date, or all that kind of stuff. She can still use the data set and see her records, but she's restricted in the number of records she can view. Okay. So those are the two different permissions. There's organization level permissions, and then there's the ability to turn on advanced data set permissions to restrict certain types of records that different types of people can see. So you might think, boy, that's a little bit complicated. If I have all these different permissions at different levels of the tree, how do I keep an eye on what people can view? How do I keep control of my data governance? Well, you can go in the admin section and you can run a report. So let's go to the user permissions audit, and let's select Jane Johnson, and I click on that. Well, it's going to say everything that Jane Johnson can do in the software. So the organization, marketing, and its descendants can do all these actions. So it shows you everything she can do everywhere in the software and how she got that permission. So by being a member of marketing admins, she can see this organization and do these things. By being a member of Standard View All, she can see all organizations and do these things. And she has this additional advanced permission data set just directly assigned to her in the device sales data set, and those are the records she can see and those are the actions she can do. Perfect. Or you can view the data in another way. You can go to the organization permission audit, and you can say, which organization, let's choose the Mobile World Incorporated, and it's going to show you every single user who can see that organization, how they got the ability to see it, and what they can do while they're viewing it. So you can completely audit all your permissions. Finally, there's the dataset permissions audit. It's the third way of viewing the data from the other angle. You can go to device sales and choose, and these are all the different people who can see the device sales data set. And how they can view it. There's Jane Johnson right there, etc. So that is permissions in Spider Impact. It's designed so incredibly large organizations can manage all kinds of users and groups and permissions and be confident that their data is secure.